Hey, what's up, guys? Talking to my older subscribers here. You remember when I said I was going to do book reviews and it just kind of never happened? Well, I'm going to start. Now, of course, they'll be sporadic. It's not going to happen all at once, but today I want to talk about a book. One of my favorite books. This is Balisong Iron Butterfly by Kokoy Boy Hernandez. And it's a really interesting book. Of course, it relates around the Balisong. It's a story of a Filipino man who was just a dock worker, and he basically learned all of his skills from this one gentleman, his Master Bimba. And it's a really fascinating story. It's all true. This is his real life. A man who happened to be Filipino, who learned the art of the Balisong, and in which it saved his life on several occasions. You know, talking about the 50s and 60s, rough areas of town, different parts of the country, traveling, all kinds of stuff. It's really fascinating. Besides having the actual storyline, there's plenty. It's a very easy read. Let me see. There's less than 100 pages. 97 pages altogether. Lots of illustrations. If I can flip through here to show you. All kinds of pictures. The text is large, okay? So if you're someone who doesn't normally like reading, but you're interested in Balisongs, this is a perfect book for you. It also shows you different scenarios, a couple different moves in here, you know, throughout the book. And it's just a really fun book to read. It doesn't seem like it's work. I know for a lot of people, especially younger viewers, you don't like to read because it's a pain. It's annoying. Reading is amazing. And I wish I read more. I don't really have the time, but when I was younger, I hated reading. I didn't like it. I'd rather watch a movie, play video game, you know. But reading really opens up your imagination. Whether it's fiction or nonfiction, you get a visual on what you're reading. Whatever story you're reading or information, you picture it in your mind, and it's just a really cool experience. I do like to read these days, and of course anything that's hobby related, it's a home run for me. But I've had this book for a long time now. I've actually read it 2 or 3 different times, and every time I pick it up, I mean, I remember the story in general, but I love reading the details again, and it's just a really cool book. Written in 1985 by Dragon Books is the publisher here. And that's pretty much it. I really want to recommend it. Like I said, it's a story of a Filipino man who learned the art of the Balisong, and eventually it saved his life. What I'm going to decide to do now is, and you don't have to stick around. You can click on something else if you don't have the time or if you're just not interested. But I'm going to read some of this. Have a little story time. If you have a hard time falling asleep at night, why don't you check back at this video later. But just to kind of get the juices flowing and get you interested in the book, if you are interested in Balisongs in general, I want to give you a little teaser. I'm going to read, not really the first chapter because it is such a short book, but I'm going to read a couple pages here. Now first we're going to start off with the introduction by Kokoy Hernandez, or Boy, that's what his nickname was. And this is written word for word, okay? And then afterwards, there's another page here. It's a statement by the publisher. And the summary of this is basically saying that the guy speaks broken English. We didn't want to write the entire book the way he's saying it word for word because it's really hard to follow. It's hard to follow someone who speaks broken English. But this opening statement is word for word, directly what he said. Okay, so this is going to sound like a second or third grader wrote this, but remember, this is a person who grew up in, really rough area of the country, and he just wasn't very educated. Everything he knew was street smarts. So anyway, I want to read this first, and then I'll read a little bit of the book. Not going to go crazy, but I'll read a couple pages. So first off, here's the introduction. Let me introduce myself and this book. Please don't expect school book writing. I just write what I know. A lot of fancy people say Balisong is a warrior's art. Okay. But there wasn't no samurai where Balisong was born. Sure, we didn't have no fancy stances, no special clothes. We just had Balisong and ourselves. We got not time to make up some ritual. Just fight. Let me tell you, a lot of fat cats talking now about Balisong only being good against Balisong. No good against leather jacket. In Philippines, we no wear leather jacket. But in some smart boy do. We always got machete. If you lose weapon, pick up another. Do something. Don't be crybaby and give up easy. That's not a man's way. No way. People say we always fighting. Sure, it's our way. You city folks with big houses, air conditioning, and shiny car can pay for guys to protect you. Insure your interests, I always hear them say. But in Philippines, we don't got that. That's why I agree with Master Bimba. What a fighter. Just after the war, he backed down to nobody. Never. Anyway, he say if you got to fight, you got to win. Don't never step back. You got to know the other guy's mind or man. He's just going to cream you. That's why when I see these guys in the white pajamas saying they're going to teach you self-defense, I got to laugh. The man wasn't born who fight for real by rules. Not if he got any sense, he don't. And let me stop for a second here. He's referring to people who have, karate classes, people who teach and work in a dojo. He's referring to real life scenarios and basically saying that, there are no rules, and if you learn a specific type of fighting art, there's boundaries you have. And he's saying, when you live in the street, there are no boundaries. Whatever you gotta do, you gotta kick someone in the nuts to get them down. That's what you gotta do. It's all about saving your life, not about, the sport of fighting. So I just wanted to stop there for a second and summarize that in case you're not following along. Anyway, I see a guy square up, he drop into horse stance, and I growl like some mad dog. I just kick him in private and run fast. No more to it. If he get up and come after me, I figure he don't want just my phone number. So like the man say, I use my deterrent, but that's another story. There's a lot of guys, mostly in America, want to make Balisong martial art and have all kind of competition, have sticker on jacket, say coach or instructor. Just dreaming like most karate now. Yeah, I thought that'd ruffle a few tail feathers. Like they say in the cockfight, bit o' salt, bit o' blood, make a champion. Think about it. Well, okay, there's only a few teachers teach old karate way. Same way Eskrima, Arnis, and Kali. Why? Simple. Students don't want to go away with broken mouth. Not if you pay big bucks. No way, Jose. I guess I must be getting old or something, but it sure teach a real way. Next birthday I will be 61 years old. In my life I have met and fight a load of guys that call themselves masters and wasn't, and a few, real small, who called themselves nothing, but were real masters. Tiger eyes, I call them. Man, you see them, you know you get a real fight. That's what I believe. Let me tell you, if you want to know real technique, not just stupid tricks that don't work, when you outside a studio, you gotta sweat a little, maybe even bleed a little. So you see, this book is not just about Balisong, it's deeper than that. I don't like to say spiritual, because maybe you mix up what I say. I'm not some hippie. No, I mean how to train so you hard outside and hard inside, but still able to be soft when you want to be. So no matter what comes, you can hold your head up high and don't step in the gutter for no man. So again, to summarize the second portion of that, he's basically saying that, yeah, you can learn a lot of different techniques in a dojo with the proper ways to fight and in different forms of fighting, but you do what you got to do at the end of the day. And what he's also touching upon here, which I think is very true to life, is that the person with the loudest bark usually has the smallest bite. The tough guy walking around trying to pick a fight usually doesn't know how to fight, and it's a small, quiet guy who can really handle himself. I think that's pretty true in a lot of different senses in life. But anyway, so I wanted to read that just introduction by him. I know it was even hard for me to read because it doesn't seem proper English, which it isn't. It's just his broken language. But anyway, there's an interesting chapter here on the Balisong history in general, but I'm going to skip that and just get right into the story. By the way, here's the first page to show you one Balisong move. Now, you're not going to be a Balisong master by reading this book, but some of the moves are pretty interesting to look at anyway. Let me skip through. Of course, there's all information here on fighting with knives in general, not just Balisong. Actually, really good informative information. But let's see here. Let's skip through a little bit, and I'll just start reading the story for you. Now again, don't write a comment saying this is boring, I warned you. So I just want to start reading this, and like I said, at some point I'll just stop whenever I get tired of it or feel that's enough of the story, just to kind of give you an idea of how it starts off and maybe get you interested in this book, because I think it's a great read. So, here we go. And again, this whole book is paraphrased by the publisher, so it's not in broken English, but it is the true story of this gentleman. In 1947, with great difficulty, I managed to get employment at Malina Port on Luzon Island, which is in the Philippines. I was young and fiery. Fiery. Can't read. I guess you have to read to be able to do this, right? Anyway, but in those dark days, if you didn't stand up for yourself, you were dead. As it was, you had to pay out a tenth of your day's money to the dockman, a form of gangster. Most of the work was loading and unloading boxes and sacks. You were given a tally stick for each sack or box. Then at the end of your shift, you'd cash them in for your pay, minus the tenth that the dockman wants. We all moaned about it and sighed, but the dockman's helpers, which were thugs, who were there paying to lounge around the dock wearing fancy Hawaiian shirts and smoking good American cigarettes, put us off from doing anything. That was until the dockman said he wanted 2/10 off everyone. It was in June of 1947. Yes, that's the date. It was the first time I ever saw Master Bimba and Balisong. To look at Master Bimba, you really wouldn't think much about him. He was about 5 feet 3 inches tall and weighed around 110 pounds. Usually he wore a pair of khaki shorts and a rope sandals. When you looked closer, you saw that this little man was iron hard, every muscle picked out, sharp and equally developed. Only his hair betrayed his true age. It was gray-white and closely cropped. I suppose he must have been in nearly 60 then, but he had a full set of teeth and more than a few girlfriends beside his wife. The joke was that there were more Bimba children than years in the man's life. Anyway, the fateful day came. The dockman said 2/10. We worked the whole day, dreading the end of the shift. In those days, just to survive was hard enough on our wages, let alone live. But we Filipinos are strong people. We will endure much before we crack. The klaxon went, and the shift changed. Some men tried a double shift to get more money, but unless you were well connected, there was no chance. The line made its way to the office. On the way, we had to go past the dockman and his helpers. They stood together so that only one man at a time can pass through their ranks. 2/10 of the tally stick passed into the sack held by one helper. When it came to Master Bimba, he gave 1/10, no more, no less. The dockman looked at him with wide eyes full of rage. I was 2 people behind Master Bimba. I'll never forget that look. The dockman spat out his chew, which was tobacco and an herb, and squared up to Master Bimba. I have never seen anything happen so fast in my life. Master Bimba drew, flipped, and slashed his balisong up one side of the dockman's nose and down the other. The slits opened like a cinema curtain, and the blood started to run. The dockman held his fancy bandana to the wound. All this time, his helpers had stood back. Then one drew his machete and slashed from behind. Don't ask me why, but I shouted, "Bimba, watch out!" Master Bimba spun on a dime and punched out at the helper with the butt end of his balisong. The helper dropped down like a sack of potatoes, and stunned. Then Master Bimba spoke. I will always remember as he spoke. He twirled the balisong to retrieve and cradled it in a safe and ready position in the palm of his hand. He told the dockman, 1/10 from everyone as usual. Master Bimba was not stupid. He knew that he had to get rid of the dockman was to invite another gang in. In those days, it was not organized as it is today. Through the blood-streaming nose, the dockman muttered yes, and the line moved on. When I had been paid, I raced off to Master Bimba. He was going into a bar. Oh yes, as well as a fighter, he was a drinker too. I followed him in and bought him a glass of the rough spirit which he favored. He recognized my voice from the line and offered me some of his tobacco, which was better than a spoken thank you. Like a stupid young idiot, I praised him and called him a real fighter. I begged him to show me his knife, and I've never forget anything like that. Instead of being flattered, he downed the rough spirit in one gulp and made for the door. I blinked in the sunlight as I looked for him. Then in the distance I saw him walking down a back alley. Kicking up a cloud of dust, I ran after him. As I closed on him, he stopped and turned. He'd said something which a good churchman should never say. I, however, stood my ground. Master Bimba paused for a moment, then gave me a wide grin. I lost my place. Oh, then he gave me a wide grin that we who studied under him will always remember. He said that I really did not know what I was letting myself in for. But like the young always are, I must be a little extra stupid. I replied that I would dearly love to be a fighter like him, to learn all of his tricks and tactics. He smiled, and the last thing I remember before all the lights went out was his fist coming towards my jaw. I recall coming around, my head was spinning, and there was rushing like a steam turbine in my ears. As my eyes cleared, I saw Master Bimba, sitting on his haunches and laughing, fit to burst. I struggled to my feet. My jaw hurt, but not so badly as my pride. Master Bimba told me I had just learned my first rule. Never, never lower your guard. At the time it puzzled me, but now I understand what he meant. It was probably the single most important lesson. It saved my life a score of times, but that's for later. Master Bimba said, Master Bimba, I keep wanting to say Bimbo. Master Bimba said that he would not show me the knife until I had gone for a good 6 months of training. It happened that on days that there were no work, Master Bimba had an informal school, using a piece of stamped out earth behind his brother's eating house. This small class drilled in the Arnis Demonio. Although I did not realize it, it was greatly honored to be invited to train. Train. What a word to use. We just fought like lions. His bywords was, never reject a challenge and never step back. I'll stop here. I don't want to go crazy and end up reading the whole book. I suppose I could read the whole book and maybe like 6 people would like that and everyone else would be like, oh, why'd you do a whole book? You read a whole book for a video? That's ridiculous. But look, I'm on page 4 already. It's a very, very easy read, guys. I'm telling you. And I'm talking specifically to like the 13 or 14-year-olds who just don't like to read. It's an interesting topic. If you like Balisongs, you're kind of getting into the art of the Balisong, it's definitely worth reading. A warning is don't read this book and then think you're king crap and go out with your Balisong and be, tough guy. That's not what this is about. This is someone's personal experience. Okay, they lived an entire lifetime that it is not like today. I mean, what I mean by that is that you don't have to fear for your life when you're walking down the street. Okay, so don't take this book literally. This was a different era. Okay, 40s, 50s, 60s is the general time when this, actually here, I'll tell you the front here. It takes place between 1947 and 1951, all right? So it was definitely a different time period, plus a different part of the world, okay? So, like I said, don't carry your Balisong around waiting for a fight. It's not what this is about. It's good to be educated. It's good to know how to use your knife if you need to defend yourself, but don't take it too literal. Just a warning. But awesome, awesome book. Highly recommended. You can find these at Barnes & Noble. I would go to try Amazon. I'm sure there's a couple copies on Amazon and get it used for like $4 or $5. It's a great read. It's a fast read. Something to leave in your bathroom. You can read it on the toilet if you get bored. But you can see these big illustrations, and the print itself is fairly large, so it's a very easy read. I read the whole book within 45 minutes. Highly recommended. So there's my book review. I don't want to give away the whole story because obviously people are going to want to get it. You might not want the whole thing. You want to find out for yourself. So just wanted to share that with you guys. It's a beautiful day outside. Figured I'd come out here for a little bit and reread it. It is an awesome story. I turned the camera on and did a quick little book review. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care, guys.